Hello, in this video we're going to calculate the income elasticity of demand using calculus. I'll do two numerical examples. So the market demand for good X is given by the following equation. Q is the quantity demanded of good X. P here is the price of good X, and I represents consumer income. We want to calculate the income elasticity of demand, assuming the price of good X is $50 per unit and income is $100,000. Step one, we're going to solve for Q subscript X, the quantity demanded at these values given above. So plugging these values into this equation, the demand equation, Q will equal 5,800 units. So when consumer income on average is $100,000 and the price of good X is $50 per unit, consumers will buy 5,800 units in the market. Step two, we're going to take the partial derivative of the demand equation with respect to income I, and that's just going to be the coefficient on the I term, in this case 0.05. Next, we will put together our income elasticity formula, which is the partial derivative of the demand equation with respect to income. And remember, we just solved for that. And then we're going to multiply that result by income divided by the quantity. So starting with the first term here on the right-hand side, the partial derivative of the demand equation with respect to income is 0.05. Income, we're going to evaluate our elasticity at the income here of 100,000 and the quantity demanded of 5,800. So simplifying and solving this, we'll get 5,000 divided by 5,800, or an income elasticity of 0.862. This is a positive value here on the income elasticity, so we're dealing with a normal good, something consumers will buy more of as their income increases. The interpretation of this coefficient is as follows. A 1% increase in income results in the quantity demanded of good X increasing by a little less than 1%, 0.862%. We could also interpret this coefficient as saying a 10% increase in income would increase quantity demanded by 8.62%. So a 10% increase in income would increase quantity demanded by 8.62%. All right, let's move on to our second example. All right, here we have the demand for good X in the market. It's a function of the price of good X, the price of some related good, and consumer income. So again, just defining those things here. This time consumer income, we're going to measure it in thousands of dollars. So we want to calculate the income elasticity of demand, assuming the price of good X is 100. This related good is also $100, and consumer income is 50, which represents $50,000. We want to first, as before, solve for the quantity given these values. So plugging all of these values into the demand equation and simplifying, the quantity will be 430. Step two, we're going to take the partial derivative as before. It's just a coefficient here on the income term. In this case, it's minus, so we want to keep that minus here, minus 0.4. Putting together our income elasticity formula, like the first example, our partial derivative is minus 0.4. That's going to be multiplied by income of 50, and that's going to all be divided by the Q term 430. Just one thing to keep in mind is that just for help in memorizing this, is that the cross terms are the same. So I, these cross terms are the same, and the cross terms here are the same. Quantity demanded of good X, quantity demanded of good X. So that's one way to try to keep this straight. The cross terms are the same. So doing the math here, we get an income elasticity of negative 0.047. We're dealing with an inferior good because this coefficient is negative or less than 0. So a 1% increase in income in this case decreases the quantity demanded of good X by 0.047%. Okay, that's it. I hope you found this video helpful.